Chris Hadnagy. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris. Chris is the CEO of Social Engineer LLC and the Innocent Lives Foundation. So, Chris, you have a Wikipedia page. Pretty cool. Uh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so that our audience gets to know who you are?
So I own a company, the Social Engineer Company. We focus on human-based threat actor attacks. So probably what would sound very familiar to most people is phishing emails, as an example of that. Vishing calls or phishing phone calls. So that we get those calls that say, "I'm from the IRS, you better pay," right? Smishing, like the nonstop SMS. You get to click this link here, download this app, and then physically impersonating people to go break in a building. We do this as the good guys to help companies and organizations and government agencies find where their vulnerabilities are, so that way we can patch them before the real bad guys come and do bad things.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you like pretty much created this vertical, right? This like wasn't a thing before you.
It's a weird story, okay? The kind of origin story here is I was working with a company and I was doing network hacking for the good guys and something called exploit writing. So like writing malware, also for the good guys, right? And I really was bad at coding. My brain just doesn't work like coding. So I was reading these books about like famous con men, like Victor Lustwig, and Frank Abagnale. He's the Catch Me If You Can guy. Kevin Mitnick, right? And I was like, man, these guys all have something in common. They're really good with people, and they're always friendly and nice. Like I'm wondering if we can use this in our security practice. So we would ask when we had a test, hey, can we try some emails? Can we try some phone calls? And they would say, yeah, sure. Yeah, go do it. So we would do it. And then this was the change for me. This must have been around 2007 or 8. I had a CEO say to me, okay, Chris, well, you did it and it worked. How do I fix it? And I went, beats me. And he's like, if I went to my auto mechanic and I said, hey, what's this noise? And he said, it's your brakes. I go, fix it. And he said, I can't. I'd never go back to that mechanic again. And I'm like, that is a great analogy, man. I'm like, whoa, that was a slap in the face. I was like, okay, he's right. All I'm doing is like a cowboy. I'm just breaking into places and not caring how to fix it. So I bought all these books. You could see the reading everything on persuasion, influence, nonverbals, facial expressions, body language, neuroscience, all to try to figure out how do humans make decisions. And then I would do the attacks again, but I would use a scientific principle, like Cialdini's influence of, let's say, authority. And when it worked, I'm like, oh, this worked because I use this principle of influence, and here's how you can train this person so they can defend. And then I was writing a framework. So I was doing this thing, writing a framework. My buddy said, put that framework online. And I'm like, nah, nobody's gonna care. He's like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's put it online. So I took the whole thing, digitized it. I bought social-engineer.org. I put it online, and it went viral. And in 3 months, Kevin Mitnick, who was the most famous social engineer, he social engineered the FBI and Alltel, and he went to prison for it. And then he got out and became a good guy. His publisher called me and said, will you write a book? Now that's a weird story because normally you have to fill out applications and lobby to write a book. And this woman says, and I'm like, no, I'm not an author. And she's like, no, you have to write a book on this framework. I'm like, okay. So she took some convincing and I did it. And then that book came out 2010, Social Engineering: The Art of Human Hacking. Don't read it if you haven't. It's bad. Okay, it's very old. Okay, but for the time, no one had ever written a book about social engineering that was based on science principles. It was always, here's my story how I got arrested, right? So it took the world by storm. I was getting invited everywhere. I got invited to the Pentagon to go debrief on social engineering. I was in the Pentagon twice. What the heck? Like, I'm just a little hacker. Like, get invited to the Pentagon. That was, I was getting invited around the globe to go speak at conferences, and that's when I'm like, this can be a whole industry. This can be its own vertical market. So I started creating services around it and ideas of how we can do phishing at mass storm, and how we can do vishing at mass, and how we can do smishing at mass. And I sent 20 million phishing emails in my career, so far. So we figured it out. 2010, the end of it, I launched this business. And I remember coming home to my wife and saying she had given birth to our daughter, and she had worked her whole life. She said, when I give birth to my daughter, I don't want to work anymore. So I'm the breadwinner. I come home and I say, hey, honey, I want to start a company that does just social engineering. And she goes, okay, well, how many people do that and how much do they make? And I'm like, well, no one does it. So I can't give you any idea of what they're going to make. And she's like, oh no. So she thought about it a couple days later and yeah, she, she's the biggest part of this. She says, yep, let's do it. And here we are 15 years later. And now there's companies that do the same thing that follow in the path and do this. So it's like a weird, I know, long origin story, but that's how we got here.
That's so cool. I mean, such an interesting story. So really, when you think about the branding, right, it's a whole new vertical. So like, how do you brand a new vertical? That's something that like, how do you even put a label on it that people understand?
Yeah. That's a great question, by the way. I'm gonna say that took a lot of time, and maybe this is different for different industries, but we got a little, I would say, lucky because media and news started covering threat actors using phishing, using voice phishing, using SMS phishing. So when that came out in the news, right now, a company, a bank, let's say some big bank is like, oh, wait, we're getting this phishing thing. So they go on the internet and they go, phishing services. And at the time, we were the only ones doing it, right? So it was like, bam, they come to you. But now we have competition, so the answer is not the same. So now for us to kind of leverage the market, we figured out that we had to start adding real science into our answers because we're talking about how do humans make decisions. So we had to find again the unique niche in this whole unique nicheness, if that's even a word, to pinpoint so we can now say this is why we're different.
As a follow-up to that, to Michael's question about how do you brand or tell the story of a whole new vertical, I would imagine in most cases that the biggest obstacle initially is just the client education. Like, this is a totally new thing, so we need to educate you. But what you're saying is you had the advantage of like a media and news wave that was doing that educating for you in a sense. Like, was that just serendipitous? How did you think through that?
No, that's a really good follow up because you have actually some really good thought there. So yes, the media and news were telling people this is what's happening, but they weren't helping and saying here's how you fix it. So the educating the client was a huge deal, right? Because we're talking like when you say, "Hey, I have this malware." Okay, they go buy a Blinky box, $200,000. They put it on the network, malware's gone, right? They wanted a Blinky box to fix the humans, and there isn't one. So it was training, and it's ongoing training. I would use the analogy that it's like if you wanted to lose weight and get strong, you can't go to the gym once a month. You got to do it consistently. And then when you achieve your goal, you don't go, hey, great, I'm in shape. I'm going to quit. No, now you got to maintain. And that's what training for phishing and vishing looks like. It's an ongoing, and it took a while to convince corporate America that this is the way it works. This is the way that it goes. And it's slow, but now I think in this day and age, we're at a spot where people realize like there is no Blinky box to fix this. And the threat actors are getting much smarter with AI. So training and reporting process is going to be a huge deal.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, man, I just think about the amount of vishing calls I get. So many. I mean, it's insane. Insane. So, when you're thinking about education specifically, like educating an entire market, like how did you go about convincing these larger companies when you were first starting, hey, you need to do this in an ongoing manner? I think that's a problem for a lot of companies, right? Is like, this isn't, but a client might only want to buy it one time. How do you convince them to do it multiple times?
Yeah, so let's go back to something you just said about how many phone phishing emails or phone phishing attacks you get, right? So this is what I would do. I would say to if you were a potential client and you said that, I'd be like, you want to know why that's happened? Because in the last 18 months, Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T all have been breached at least 4, 5, 6 times each of them, which means your information is out there, right? Your information is sitting on the dark web. This is why you're getting those calls. So when you express that and they have the same effect, wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, well, and I can show you. There's the stories of them being breached, and AT&T had one where every ounce of client data, including call records, were breached, right? So they even knew like who you called and when you called them, right? So you want to know why there's an increase in attacks? because of that, right? So now they go, well, what do we do? Well, right now you can't do anything because AT&T, you know what they did? For if you're a customer, you might see a $10 convenience fee or on your thing there where they give you $10 back. Yeah, that's because of the breach. They told you that is what your data is worth to them, $120 a year. That's it. That's all you're worth to them because they did the math of how many customers they have. They did the breach math. They went, everyone gets $10. Now, to me, that's worth a lot more than that because grandma's getting called and they're taking thousands of dollars out of her bank account. So it's this way, Mike, to answer your question, that you educate the customers as you have these conversations, you give speeches. I write a ton. I mean, I've written 5 books since my first one. I write on LinkedIn all the time, and it's just a constant thing to educate people on this is what's happening, this is why it's happening, this is how it's happening, and then this is how you fix it.
That's so interesting. I mean, you said something interesting in there that we've heard as a pattern from a lot of the folks that we've had on this show and a lot of clients as well, which is uh, tell things in order to get people to buy in, whether it's employees or folks that you want to become clients. You have to incorporate the data into story. Like here's a story example of how Verizon had this happen. Here's a story example because our brains are wired to respond to that. Oh, this could happen to me. So I'm curious for you. I mean, clearly you're an excellent storyteller, both just in this conversation, but also having written 5 books and presentations. What psychologically how do you approach the client education from a storytelling standpoint?
Yeah, I love that question. So first, what I find a lot of people in my industry, they like to use something called FUD. Have you heard that acronym?
I have not, no.
Okay, so FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? So, and they love to use it, and I hate it because fear as a strong emotion, but as soon as I'm gone, you're like, it's not going to happen to me. It happens to stupid people. That's what you're going to think, right? So what I like to do is come up with a story like what we just talked about. Like, this is why you're getting all these calls, Michael and Steve, and this is why you're getting all these phishing calls because of this happening. But I don't paint this picture like your life savings is going to be ruined. Your nude photos are on the internet, right? I don't need to do that, right? I don't need to bring this like utmost fear to your heart to get the point across, right? I could tell the story about that, and then what I like to do is I like to use stories of times that I failed or that I got attacked to help them relate, right? So I clicked on a phishing email. I sent 20 million phishing emails in my career, and I got phished successfully. So instead of saying to like Mr. Client, and you can be phished too, and he's thinking, nah, I go, I'm the guy who my 3rd book was on the psychology of phishing. Like that, I'm the guy who wrote the book on it. I fell for a fish. And I'm like, so if I can fall for it, anyone can. And I'm not saying that because I'm special. I'm just saying like, I know all the tricks of the trade and I still fell for it. I like to tell those stories because it hits home more. And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, I probably could fall for it then.
Can
Well,
you
now I'm thinking, have I fallen for it?
Yeah, I'm sure we have. Well, I remember, Michael, my name's Steven Skeel, but remember there was that like imposter that was texting our employees saying like, "Oh, I'm Stephen Keel," or so. It was like slightly different, and it was like, "Can you go buy a Best Buy gift card for me?"
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yep. I
Yeah,
remember
man,
that now.
sketchy stuff.
That's happened to my company. So every time we hire someone new and they go on LinkedIn, they're like, first day on the job, I start social engineer. I tell that person, you're going to get attacked today. You're going to get a text message that says, I need you to go to Walmart or something and buy gift cards because it happened to us. And my EA at the time fell for it. And it's $2,000 down the drain, right? She bought $2,000 worth of gift cards. And I come back from a meeting and she's like, so did the gift cards work? And I'm like, please tell me that you're joking. Please tell me that Ryan is putting you up for a joke. Like really, And she's like, wait. And I saw her face get white. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, let's talk about this. And she's like, they knew your name. They knew my name. And I'm like, yeah, because you just put it on LinkedIn.
And the
Those-
audacity of them to
Oh.
do that to a
God.
firm like yours.
But I mean, think of the trophy, right?
Yeah,
That's like
yeah.
a 20-point buck on the wall, right?
Yeah,
They're like,
that's
the
crazy.
guy who does this for a living and you got one of my people? Like, phew.
That's crazy.
Yeah, wow.
So another question I have, Chris, is obviously Seven Wonders, we're a video marketing agency. We do all manner of content, commercial content, customer education, testimonials, but a lot of things that are a lot of our recent customers and historical customers now are embracing this type of format, the direct to camera educational content, podcasting, and so we're running a lot of these programs. Clearly, you've had a lot of success with that. Can you talk about this format as a means for client education? And I would imagine there's something about the authenticity, the consistency. I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
So we started this thing this year called the 60-second social engineering tip. And we put them on LinkedIn, and then we put them on Instagram, and then we put them on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And it's not just me. I have men and women on my team from different backgrounds, different cultures, and they get to pick whatever the tip is that they feel is good for today. And we get on the camera and we look right at the camera and we give our people a 60-second tip. And I want to say I could educate you on something really important in 60 seconds and then give you a link to somewhere where you can get more information. And that's blown up. That's blown up for us because I got schools, I got old person's homes reaching out saying, hey, can I package these and give them? And yeah, please take it. That's what it's for, free education. I have organizations saying we're using these as part of our security awareness program. Like we're taking the videos and making the people watch it. And I'm like, great. So when you do that, when you take that time, you look at the camera, you're authentic, you're passionate about it, where you can't be, here's your 60-second tip for today. Like, that's nothing there, right? When they see that you're passionate about it, they feel that energy. They if you have a story that you tell, like a little story, we always start off with something like, have you ever seen a phishing email and went, whoa, that was so good, I almost clicked for that? And now we go into the tip, right? So we get the hook, we get them in there, and now they're like, oh, I really want to hear this. And the engagement on those things have been tremendous. So yeah, I think what you said is accurate. You have to be authentic. It has to be something relevant to your client base where they're going to want it. And we don't do just corporate stuff. We give tips on how to keep your kids safe. We give tips on how to keep grandma and grandpa safe because it's all part of social engineering. And I guarantee you the CEO at my wishful client has a mom and dad, has a grandma and a grandpa, right? Has kids. So if I can touch his or her heart to say like, wow, that tip was really good. This guy knows his stuff. He's going to reach out and want to talk.
Yeah.
Wow. My grandma, she's turning 99 this year.
Oh, wow, man.
Yeah, crazy. She
Wow.
had a phishing email recently that she caught and said, you're lying. And I was like, good for you, Grandma.
Wow. Give her like a golden star or something.
I know. She almost wired the guy, like, I think it was like $500 or something. It was a guy pretending to be one of my cousins who was studying abroad and got arrested and needed money to help bail.
Yeah.
This is a big scam going around now for older folks.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll even call and they'll say, hey, Grandma, this is Chris.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
She doesn't have
yeah.
an email. She doesn't do anything. It's a phone call.
And it works good because it's like, my grandma gets a call. Hey, Grandma, I was, we went over the border in Mexico for a bachelor party, got a little drunk. I got into a fight. I lost my wallet and I got arrested. And this cop telling me I need $5,000 for bail and to get back home. Like, I'm going to put you on the phone with the cop and then can you just wire? And as soon as I get home, I swear I'll give you the money back. Grandma's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to help, of course. And if I sound a little raspy, it's because I'm drunk, right? I'm in a jail cell. I got beat up. So her mind's going, okay, this all makes sense. And bam, done. And it's
Or
like
preying on the
darn, it's horrible.
elderly.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's terrible.
Chris, I've definitely gone down those YouTube channel rabbit holes of like the guys that like spoof the hackers or whatever, like they'll impersonate an old. Is that like taboo in your industry? Is that entertaining in your industry? Like what's the
It's not taboo. I actually like watching them, but what I say is if you get an email, right, or you get an SMS and you catch it, don't reply to them. Because what you're saying to that attacker is there's a live person at the other end of this. Now they're going to take note of that. They're going to be like, oh, he answered that email, so now I know this is a valid email. Oh, he texted me back. I know it's a valid text. And now they're going to come up with another attack. So, but on the phone call, your grandma did great. Did great saying like, hey, no, I know you're a scam. Click. That's exactly what you do, right? That's exactly what you do with those. I won't personally take the time out to go do that because I feel like, there's one of those channels I was watching where the guy actually reverse hacks them, right? And here's my fear. Even though those guys are terrible criminals, what he's doing is still illegal. So I always wonder, like, what happens if just for giggles they decided they're going to press charges against him? Would they actually win? Yeah, would they? I could see this in America being like one of those crazy stories where a criminal, you know, sues the other guy and wins because he broke the law by hacking into his computer.
Yeah, geez, that's a good point. I
You know,
hadn't thought about that.
so I'm always like, I'm
Yeah.
not risking my business, my family, all my stuff just
No,
for,
it's not worth it. Just
Yeah.
for a
Yeah,
giggle.
yeah,
So the other thing that came to mind, Chris, is I another YouTube rabbit hole I go down is I forget what the brands that do them, but there's these brands that'll do the interviews with experts in their field on like white backdrops, and it'll be like ex convict talks about how he pulled off bank heists, or like magician reveals how he does his sleight of hand. Like, have you ever done anything like that, or been able to talk in that type of way?
I have. Yeah. So a lot of times, and to help customers or to help people in general know how to protect is by defining how the attack works. It helps to understand, right? Like you can't if you've never been in a fight before and the first time you get punched is on a street fight, that's going to suck, right? So people go to self-defense classes. Why? Because they're like, oh, I want to learn how to give a punch and how to take a punch so if it ever comes out. So when you sit there and you define this is how this attack worked, this is what happened to grandma step by step, then they go, okay, next time if that happens, they can start thinking, oh, wait, this might be that attack I heard about. Right? So I think that and like Frank Abagnale, he was so good at counterfeiting that when he turned to the good side, the FBI hired him to consult on how to figure out counterfeiting process. How to beat counterfeits, right? So his criminal career, yes, he was bad, but then he got to use that knowledge of how he figured out counterfeiting perfection to help the government fix counterfeiting.
So how does like a typical client engagement work for you? Is it like they hire you to like concoct some sort of attack as a test for them, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so exactly what you just said. So a company hires us. Let's just say it's a bank, a global bank, right? So a big bank, and they have branches all over the U.S. and they want us to do phishing, voice calls. So we'll do what's called OSINT, open source intelligence, and that means we just go to Google and we look up information about employees, information about what's going on in the bank. Are there new regulations? Are there charities they support? Is there some new programs the bank has launched? Are there some employee programs that they're bragging about? And then we come back to the point of contact and we say, okay, here's what we found, and we think some solid pretext would be X, Y, and Z. And they tell us, okay, you could do this, you could do that. We don't want you to do this one, but you could do these three things. Okay, great. And then we start. So we'll go and we'll spoof phone numbers so we look like we're coming from the bank, and we'll start making phone calls and trying to get the information that we're supposed to be getting. And then the end of it is always data, right? Because I tell my employees, like, we don't get paid to hack. We get paid to write reports. The hacking's for free and for fun, right? Because at the end of the month, they don't care about, the fun we had on a phone call or whatever it was. What they care about is like, tell us my data. So you called 1,000 people this month. How many of them got compromised and how many of them shut down? And now how many of them reported it? That's the data they need, because now they need to go back to the company and take that data and use it for education. So we see that upward trend of reporting and the downward trend of compromise.
So is there like a second step then where you say, okay, so we've identified all of these areas of weakness. Now let us help you build a protection infrastructure, or is that more like on them to figure out?
So we do both, right? There are times where if we're working like for security awareness teams, they usually going to take the data and build it. But when we're doing things like the physical break-ins, we do physical break-ins of buildings. What we'll do is we'll make a long list of suggestions. Yeah, it is wild. I mean, a couple of years ago, I flew to Jamaica and I broke into 3 banks in Jamaica.
You're like living Ocean's
What?
11 or something.
Yeah,
Wait,
Like,
yeah.
you broke
The
into
craziest
3
story.
banks.
I
Oh
mean,
my
like, we get
god.
paid for this job, right? So we go, we fly over, and it's my buddy Ryan and I, and right away, we're like, we stand out. Like, we're the only 2 white people in, like, 100 miles, right? So, I'm like, "This is this," and then we pull up in the parking lot across from the first bank, and we start scouting it out, and their security are all these young guys with sawed-off shotguns on dirt bikes riding around the bank, and I'm like, "This is where we die." I'm like said to the guy, "Why don't you tell me?" He's like, "Oh, I just thought you knew." I'm like, "What the heck?" So I'm sitting here, I'm like, "Okay, we gotta figure out a method to get in this bank, right, and not get dead." So we had found on the internet that they went through something called the PCI compliance. So it's a compliance so they can do business with America. And the company they hired to do it was an American company. So I'm like, we're going to just tell security that we're here to finish the audit because, they would expect to see Americans. So that means that's a good excuse. So I walk up to this guy in the street and I say, "Hey, I'm going to give you $20 if you do a favor for me. I want you to go inside this bank and I want you to talk to the security guard about how you become a security guard." He's like, "What?" I'm like, I just need a distraction. So I need you to go." I said, "We're not doing anything illegal. Yada, yada. I need you to go inside and talk about how do you get a job being a security guard." And he's like, "Well, $20, sure." I give him $20. He goes into the thing. And as he walks in, he starts talking. Now the security guard is not looking at us. So I grab my cell phone and I'm like, "Hey, we're coming upstairs. Yeah, we're going to finish it." And Ryan and I just walk right past security. We go upstairs, right? So we're walking down the hallway and there's a call center in the bank and it's RFID locked. So I'm walking real slow because I'm waiting to see if someone's going to exit. And we just get lucky. This woman starts exiting. So I run up and go, "Oh, let me hold the door for you." She's like, "Oh, thank you." So she exits. We go in. We're like, "Okay, we got to get out of sight real quick because the manager's office is right here." So we kind of do this big U-turn and we go down one of these rows with the call center. And there's a young woman sitting at a computer. And right next to her is another computer no one's at. And I said, "Excuse me, I need you to put your password into this computer." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, we're doing an audit. I need you to put your password into this computer." She's like, "Okay." She just leans over, she puts her password. Now we're in and we just start hacking the bank. We're just like, ransacking everything, just taking data. Um, this guy, Ryan's doing that. And this guy over behind us gets up and goes to the bathroom and he leaves his computer completely unlocked. So I sit down at that one and I start doing the same thing. And this manager comes and she says, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "Oh, we're finishing up the PCI audit." She goes, "Okay." She walks away. But I could tell she was skeptical. So I'm like, "Ryan, let's finish it up," right? 4 minutes later, she comes back and she's like, "Who's your contact?" And I'm like, I can't remember his name." She's like, "Nope, we know every PCI auditor that was here had to have an internal contact. Who's your contact?" Like, forgot the fake name the name of the guy who we found out that he was on a business trip. So we were going to use his name because they couldn't call to verify. And I forgot his name. So she's like, "Come with me to security." So as we're heading down to security, I'm looking for his name, right? And in my notes. And we get to security and she says, "Hey, these 2 people aren't supposed to be here and they're on our computers." And the guy says, "No, no, no. I saw them come in. No, they're cool." And she's like, "No, they were hacking on computers. I don't know what they were doing and they don't know their contact." I said, "I just forgot it. I told you his name is Mr. Smith." And what we had set up was a cell phone number in Jamaica that was going to ring to our guy who's sitting out in the van waiting for us. So we can call Mr. Smith, right? And I said, "Look, I'm going to call him right now. You can check." And I pick up my cell phone, dial the number. I'm like, "Mr. Smith, this is Paul. I'm in the bank here. I guess you must have forgot to put my name on the list. Can you talk to the security guard?" So I hand my phone. "Mr. Smith, sir." "Yes, yeah, but I forgot. I'm sorry. They should have been on the list." And he's like, "Okay, what should I do?" "Well, just ask them what else they need to test and, take them there." So that woman walks away. Security guard's like, "Okay, you're in the clear. Where do you need to go?" I'm like, "We need to go to the server room." And he's like, "Okay." And he just takes me down there, unlocks it. Like, "Oh, you can leave. We'll come out and tell you when we're done." She just owned the whole place.
Wait, so I have
An
questions.
entire bank.
Yeah.
Wow.
First of all,
That's wild.
would this Mr. Smith that you called, would that be someone that the woman that you were trying to throw off knew who that person was? Like they would, so this person in your van was trying to like mimic their voice, so to speak. Like, how did she
When the woman left, right? So I'm talking to security now. And I don't think security might know who Mr. Smith is, but he's a security guard. He's probably never interacted with him.
Right,
Right.
right.
So
Wow.
I hand the phone to security and say, "Mr. Smith, can you please speak to the security guard?" So now he's talking and now he says, "Oh, Mr. Smith has verified them, so they're good." So she walks away, right? And I'm like, done. And I'm like, we're within like micro inches of getting caught. Like there's like one slip up and this guy's pulling out his gun and like we're getting arrested, right? So it's like, I'm like, so we go to the server room. we do all sorts of bad stuff to them, and we leave. We just walk out calmly, walk out, curse the parking lot, pass all the guys with shotguns, get in the van and go, get me the hell out of here, like quick, like just go.
I have a question for you. If you get
Yeah,
caught
Oh,
and
man,
arrested,
that's crazy.
yeah,
That is
crazy stories.
absolutely wild.
Chris, if you guys get caught and arrested, what would that look like for you? Would you get off? The bank would say, hey, this was a part of a job that we were doing.
Yeah, I had a job we did for a nuclear site. Um, I got arrested 5 times that week. So, um, yeah, at gunpoint, all of them, right? So we have something called the get out of jail free letter. So it's the higher ups in the company. They say who is here, what their names are, and what they're allowed to do and why they're doing it, and then contact information for those people. So if we get caught, that letter's always somewhere very close, like in our pocket to us. So we're like, if we get arrested, we comply always. Okay, you can cuff me, and then I say, sir, in the front pocket, there's a letter that explains why we're here. They pull it out, and they're like, okay. Then they uncuff us and usually let us go.
But shotguns are very real things, and for someone to not believe you, I mean, you're definitely they better pay you handsomely for that, Chris. I really hope they do.
I've had this happen once where a security guard said to me, I was breaking into a warehouse, and I was very successful. And then he caught me at the end, and he said, and I gave him the letter. And he said, for all I know, this number goes out to some girlfriend in a van that's just going to lie to me. He takes me and he puts me in a closet. He locks me in a closet, right? Now, he kind of wasn't smart because he had all my lock picks and all my tools with me still. So I'm like, yeah, this is kind of dumb. So I'm like, I can just shim the door and open it. So I open it and I grab my cell phone, it's on the table, and I call my point of contact. I'm like, I'm about to get tased. You better call now and clear this up, right? Like, so that guy was going to call his head of security who knew nothing about the test. So they're like, I knew he was a liar. Like, what are we going to do with him, right? And I'm like, call them now. Like, clear this up, man. They're going to come in here and I'm going to be getting like beat up or something. So please.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is why we could ask you stories all day long and I'd be entertained. But to bring it back to brand and marketing and sales, what is the and like obviously share what you're allowed to share, willing to share, and whatever's totally fine. But like, what is the sales cycle on client engagements? Like, I would have to imagine there's like, how do you get introduced? Is it all word of mouth because it's like such a really high degree of sensitivity? Is it like a 3-year procurement process? Like, what is that all like?
Yeah, that's good. Those are good questions. So a lot of introductions happen through one of 3 ways. So either internet searches, and if our SEO is good, they get drawn to our site. Speeches, webinars, other things where people hear about us, and then I tell a story like I just did, and they're like, I want to talk to this guy, right? And then third is like the writing that we do, like the books, the blogs, everything on LinkedIn, stuff like that get us out there. Plus, and then I should add like our podcast, our newsletter, that spreads the word too, right? But the sales cycle is not 3 years, but it can be anywhere from 4 to 9 months from when a company says, hey, let's talk, to we're closing something. It's pretty long. It's a long sales cycle because a lot of times when we get to the point where they're even talking to us, wanting like an SOW, wanting a quote, they already know they need the service. But as you can imagine, when you hear this, we're not cheap. So yeah, they get the SOW, and there's a little bit of whoa, kind of thing. And now we have to talk about quality of service over just cost and like why. And again, this is where we kind of go with this. You asked this question before. When we're at that point, we always talk about what is the cost of a breach in your industry. Like right now, what they're saying is an average breach will cost $5.5 million to an organization. I can tell you our services are nowhere near $5.5 million. So, just compare that. And there's some companies who will say, no, we're going to take the risk. We haven't been hacked yet. And then there's a lot of companies who are like, I don't want to take that risk. So yes, we'll do the thing.
And is your typical contract structure where you'll do that audit, you'll make the recommendations, and then you have some sort of longer tail play where it's like, okay, then we do ongoing maintenance? How does the contract typically work?
That's a perfect contract where we do the audit, then we get an ongoing contract for education services, and then we come back in a year or two to do the audit again to see if they're better this time. Right. So like, I'll give you this company that we, the nuclear place, the way we got in at night one time was, I bought a small iron bar at Home Depot, and I bent it, and there's a 1-inch gap in their door. I just shoved it in the gap, turned it, and pulled the lever on the door. We were inside. 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking around this place like owning every computer and like no alarm, anything. So I'm like, fix that gap, make sure the alarm always on, and if alarm is not working for whatever reason, put an armed guard there, right? The stuff you're protecting is not small. So 2 years later, we go back to do the same test. Everything's fixed. There's no door gap. Alarm is solid. There's one-way glass. I'm like, okay, this is good. So now we have to come up with a new plan, and it's going to be a lot harder, right? So, and when you do that, it's kind of like thinking, like adding more weight to the bench, right? Like they get stronger. We have to come up with new ideas, and if we still win, then they get stronger again. So it's constant making it so the bad guys will have a very hard time getting into the organization.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Michael,
mean,
it almost
especially
reminds
for
me of
nuclear power.
it almost reminds me a little bit on a much smaller scale of pest control, like your
Oh.
parents' company.
Oh,
Can
very different, my god, but, similar in the sense that rodents are crawling into spaces, and then in this one, humans are crawling into spaces.
I use pest control all the time, by the way. I
Oh, as a
I
fake
Oh,
career
yeah,
for
as a fake
yeah.
I gotta tell you, one of my earlier jobs, we got so lucky, it was out at West, and we found this newspaper article where it wasn't the company we were breaking into, but this other company was doing a groundbreaking for a building, and they hit this underground nest of these little spiders. They weren't poisonous, they were just pests, and because it was February and it was cold, the spiders were looking for places to go, and there were millions of them, so they had infested all the local buildings. And the local businesses were complaining and saying they should pay for pest control. I'm like, this is us. This is where we're going. So I made a whole pest control company up. We bought sprayers. I filled them with fluids and everything. And we walk up to the security. Hey, yeah, ABC sent us. We're here to take care of the spiders. They're like, about time. Bam, just right through. And we're just,
Chris, would you describe yourself as a professional criminal?
that's a great question. So I I mean, yes, but what I like to say is that I have to think like the bad guys, but remember I'm the good guy, right? So I have to be able to do that because criminals in the end don't care about how it affects you, right? Criminals don't care like taking that money from grandma, right? They don't care about that. If that was your grandma's last $1,000 or whatever, they don't give a crap, right? That doesn't matter. I'm not going to use a pretext that's going to leave our targets feeling afraid or fear for their job or their life. Like I'm not going to threaten them or getting them fired or something like that because I care. So there is a little bit of a difference, but yes, we have to constantly think like the bad guys when we're approaching a building. We got to be like, okay, how am I going to break into this place? Right?
So nuts.
That's
So nuts.
doing
It
bad
is.
for good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of say like, how like you think about a surgeon, like he's cutting a human open, and that's not a really great thing to do, but he's doing it to get the cancer out or to get something else out to fix you, right? And then there's a painful healing process. Those stitches are going to hurt. It's going to take a long time to recover, but when you recover, the problem is fixed. So we come in like that surgeon. We're cutting you open. We're taking out whatever bad things we can find, and then you're going to have a healing process. And hopefully you're going to be 10 times stronger when you heal.
I think you'd be very good at the two truths and a lie game. I bet you could come up with, "Oh, I broke into a bank in Jamaica. I did."
If I could play with people that don't know me, I could do that. I broke into 3 banks in Jamaica. I broke into a nuclear facility out west, and I broke into a healthcare system. Oh, I have to tell two truths and a lie.
Yeah, one has to be a lie. Maybe that's the hard part. It's thinking of the lie.
Yeah. The lie would be, I'm an accountant.
Well, that's all the questions I had. Michael, do you have any other questions?
No, this was great. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it. Do you have
You're
any
welcome.
advice for anyone starting a new vertical on just, hey, when you're getting the word out there, what would that look like?
Yeah, that's a really nice question. So one of the things which I wish I knew on purpose, but I did it by mistake and it actually helped, was I gave a ton of free education out. I mean, I had my .org site, and my .com is where we made money, but on the .org, I was putting out podcasts, newsletter, blogs. I was talking about the attacks, how they work. I was giving out free education, which made me the subject matter expert to everyone's eyes. So, like, That's why there's a Wikipedia page, right? It's crazy, but it's like when I say if you're starting a new vertical, don't be afraid to give out free education thinking that your competitors are going to steal it, whatever. That may happen, and it does. I mean, my competitors now use my framework and my education, but guess what? It still comes back to me because I'm the guy who made it. So if you created something new and you're the guy educating the whole world, no one can take that from you. It will always come back to you. So don't be afraid to give out free education. It pays back in dividends.
Wow. Yeah. That's great advice. And if people are looking to find you, where would they find you and your company?
Well, I'm active on LinkedIn, as you heard, but my website is social-engineer.com. You can go there and find out all the stuff that we do. And then if you find me on LinkedIn and connect, as long as you don't try to sell me something in the first 15 seconds of saying hello, I will gladly connect with you, right? But yes, those two places.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm going to thank you again,
Yeah.
Chris. This was
Thank you for
awesome.
Thank
joining
you,
us,
guys.
Chris.
This was a great show.